ఇంక 1 minute ఉంది. అయిపోయింది. వాసుదేవ. హరి ఓం. శం నో మిత్రస్యం వరుణః శం నో భవత్వర్యమా శం న ఇంద్రో బృహస్పతిః శం నో విష్ణురుక్రమః నమో బ్రహ్మణే నమస్తే వాయో త్వమేవ ప్రత్యక్షం బ్రహ్మాసి త్వామేవ ప్రత్యక్షం బ్రహ్మ వదిష్యామి ఋతం వదిష్యామి సత్యం వదిష్యామి తన్మామవతు తద్వక్తారమవతు అవతు మాం అవతు వక్తారం. ఓం శాంతి శాంతి శాంతి. కిరాలకులాంబోధివిధుమానందరూపిణం అనంతార్యతనూజాతం కృష్ణం వందే జగద్గురుం. ఓం అస్మద్గురుభ్యో నమః. Welcome to all our friends from Russia, Ukraine, and also from the West European part. So today we are going to study about the group living, which is the very important subject for everybody, and this will be a real solution also for the present world crisis. Actually, group living is very essential, since we can find this among all the kingdoms of nature. When you observe the mineral kingdom, which provide the substratum for all the other kingdoms, there we find a wonderful group living in the constituents of every mineral of this planet. Because all the minerals also have their conscious level, and then the next kingdom, in plant kingdom also, you find a wonderful group living and good cooperation, and what you find in nature. When you observe about plants in nature, in the forest for example, many different plants, different types of plants, they live together without any problem. Whereas we observe the plants which we grow for our cultivation and all these purposes, then mostly we are making uniculture, that is only one particular type of plants that we want to grow. And this was also observed that this monoculture is not so fruitful and successful in the growth of these plants. But when we can follow the example of the plants which are in the wild environment, there you can observe that the polyculture will be more successful because there is a group living and cooperation between those plants. So, and then when you observe the animal kingdom also, in their natural habitats, when we observe them, there also you can find a perfect group living. For example, you see the cows and the goats and sheep, they feel very secure and happy when they are living in groups than when they are isolated. So, group living is an essential factor. So, for human beings in human kingdom also, group living is very essential to overcome many problems on social levels and personal levels and all the levels. But what do we exactly mean by this group living? Is it only that people gather a mass of people gathering together and like what we see, what we observe in the big cities, the cosmopolitan cities, they live together. Together means they live maybe in one building, for example. Many families in different apartments are like that. So even though they are living in the same building, but you cannot call this as a group living, you see. There is another example to understand this more precisely. For example, to make a building, a construction, you first procure some materials like bricks, cement and other material. So you can make a heap of bricks at a place, and to construct a building, what is required? You have to arrange these bricks in a particular pattern, in a particular order, to build a wall or build a column to make further building, further structure. So all these bricks, when they are just placed as a heap on one another, can you call this a wall or a structure? They are all together at a place, very close physically. But where is the structure? Where is the wall? Where is the column? So, it is not just enough that they are physically very close. Only when you arrange them in a pattern, when they are arranged in a pattern and fixed in the arrangement, then you will see only the structure, a wall or a column or a building. You don't see any bricks anymore separately. So when they are left as bricks, they are many in number, innumerable. Even though they are very physically close, but they are many in number. Each one is different from the other one. But the same bricks, when they are arranged into a pattern, after that, they will be called with a singular number. That means you can call it a wall. Wall is singular. Or a column. No more bricks. So this makes all the difference. So in the same manner, if many people, thousands or millions of people, they are made to stay at a place physically nearer. But if they don't have any contact socially or mentally, then this is not virtually called a group living. It is not a group. Can you call this a group? So, when there is only this physical nearness, without social, mental, ethical and all these levels, it makes no group and no one can feel secure because no one has any contact with his neighbor. That is what you see in most of the cosmopolitan cities. So even though you are among the many millions of people, but you are as if you are left alone in a big wilderness. So it makes no difference. So that is why group living must be the key of our existence. That is most important. So for group living, what is important is not just the physical nearness as we have seen, but the nearness, the feeling of nearness should be on the higher level, on the level of mind. Then how can this be inculcated? How can this be cultivated and inculcated? This requires, just like how When a building is to be made, the bricks are to be arranged in a pattern. In the same manner, it is required to use some tools like bricks. What are they here? Your sense of sacrifice and your sense of responsibility towards the fellow beings around you. When this is increased in all the people that are living at a place, if every person is concerned with the welfare of all the other people who are around him. Of course, this is on a small scale, but it should be extended more and more until the whole of humanity. That is our goal. So the welfare of the fellow beings, our concern about the welfare of our fellow beings, which can be possible by our spirit of sacrifice, spirit of service, spirit of cooperation, and all these factors. Without this, it is of no use, or it makes no sense. Just if we live nearer at a place without having any concern about the people around us. So this is most important for group living. So sacrifice means, what does it mean? Should we have to sacrifice what all we have of our personal belongings and all these things? First of all, we have to sacrifice our attitude of possessing something. A possessive instinct is to be sacrificed. That to be eliminated. Because the biggest obstacle towards group living is the possessive instinct. How can this be overcome? How can we overcome this possessive instinct? The more we are concerned about only ourselves, in every aspect, the more we are deeply influenced by the possessive instinct. And this possessive instinct keeps us in a narrow-mindedness and also keeps us in a fear of losing. That is also associated with this possessive instinct. So, to get out of this influence and imprisonment of the conditioning of this possessive instinct, we have to practice, we have to enter to practice the spirit of offering, the spirit of sacrifice. And how can we practice this? How can we put this in practice in our daily life? When we remember our needs, then if we also can remember the needs of the fellow beings, then it will be easy for us to get out of this possessive instinct. This is because the needs are common for all the people. You have to discriminate between the needs and desires. Needs are quite common for all the beings, for the animals, for the birds, for humans, for everybody. And needs are few for our living, for our daily life. Needs are only few. So you should not confuse between the needs and desires. This is the first thing. Needs belong to our mundane plane, to our body. And desires belong to our mind. So desires may differ from one person to other person. Each person will have so many desires. But needs are the same for everybody. So this is the first thing we have to recognize, that whatever is needed for me, also needed for our fellow being. Like for example, food, drink, shelter, such things. These are the needs for our body, for our existence. So, then what we have to, when we know this, then what is the next step is, what is it that we are going to do with our needs? We are trying to fulfill or cater to our needs. That's quite normal, natural. When you are hungry, so it is natural that you feel like eating. When you are thirsty, you feel like drinking. There is nothing wrong. But at the same time, if you remember that the other person also needs the same, he has also hunger, and he has also a need to eat, a need to drink. So, if you remember that, how you attend to your needs, the same manner it is your responsibility to attend to the needs of the fellow beings also. So this is already a step forward towards the group living. What I need, the food, drink, clothing, shelter and all these minimum needs to live, these are needed to our fellow beings also. So then, you have to remember your responsibility. There are two things. One is remembering the rights and remembering the responsibilities. If anyone remembers only the rights, what he has to receive or get, and not concerned with the responsibilities, then he is far away from group living. He cannot enter into a group. He is not fit to enter into any group. So even your family is also a unit. It is also a group living. That is why family structure is very important for the human beings. Because that is the first unit to train us into group living. You see how nature has created this. It is said in the scriptures that it is the Manu, the first man on this planet, who has given this formula of family living, family life. When you make a family, a man and woman, and together they get the children, then what is happening? Your arena is expanding. Before you got married, you were concerned only about your needs, yourself. But when you are married, naturally, if you are really at least a 50% of human being, then you will feel concerned about your partner with whom you are living together. And then when you get children, so this is from both the sides, then they are promoted as parents and they know their responsibility towards their children. So this is one school that is established by the nature for the human beings, for the expansion of consciousness towards the group living. So one family is a unit group, and it should not stop there. It is when you got trained through the family in group living, by knowing your responsibilities towards each other and the family, between husband and wife, between the parents and children, like that, then you can extend this towards the society, towards the beings around you. So your sense of responsibility has to be expanded. Then you won't give importance to the rights. You know, as long as man is fighting for rights, then he is far from being a real human being. His behavior becomes diabolic. He will become self-centered, selfish. And if all the people become like this, the society will disintegrate. The race will disintegrate. The nation will disintegrate. You see, for example, the present example, when the whole of the world is confronted with a warlike event from this COVID-19 in every country, how can we face this and overcome this? Of course, a social distance and all these things are recommended, but doesn't mean mental distance. That doesn't mean we have to forget our responsibility towards others. You know, we see, we can experience, we can realize that even in such a state, when we make any effort to help others, for example, we have enough resources to stay at home and we can feed ourselves, our family, but there are many who has no possibility to survive. So, if we can make any effort by any means to help them, to feed them, so this will make us more protected than just having a vaccination or something to protect us. It is a fact. If we run away anywhere from the event, of course now nobody can run anywhere because you cannot escape by running anywhere else. We are in such a situation now. So, this is also an event created by nature to teach a lesson to the human being, how to behave. So even in such a situation, we feel the responsibility and we make an effort to share whatever we have and to help other beings in any manner by providing food. Mainly, that is what is required for our sustenance. So all such efforts are what is needed, and this will relieve us from the possessive instinct and lead us towards group living. So our effort to make group living is also a practice for us, because when we want to make a group living, we must be ready to share and our responsibilities, and we must be ready to share our resources. And so we may not be nearer physically at a place, but still when we were enough trained, and even from a distance also, we can make our work in such a direction for the helping and for the well-being of the people, the society. This itself is also an important step towards group living. So now coming once again, so group living is most necessary training for us. Maybe we got into this at a later age because we were not trained before. Even though at a later age we came into this group living, it's not bad. Better late than never, that is what is. So, whichever you know which is good, immediately you have to put into practice. That is what is required. Otherwise, if we know many good things without practice, it makes no sense. So for group living, most important is we have to eliminate the tendency to exploitation, because that is a most biggest obstacle in the group living. Because this tendency of exploitation is in our mind. So we want to get all the benefits, and we want to get all the comforts and benefits and all these things from others around us. And nothing that we are contributing, either this contribution should be not just on the mental plane. If I sit here and I say mentally I am contributing my good thoughts to all the beings who are suffering, it makes no sense. So we have to work it on physical plane. So first of all, we must cultivate a sense of trust in the goodness, basic goodness of others. That is most important. We must eliminate any sort of suspicion or mistrust about the other beings. Then only group living is possible. Otherwise, if we are together, suppose all of us, to avoid the situations like now, go away somewhere and place ourselves in a very secure place like an ashram or like in a village where there is no possibility of any sort of infection, all these things, it is good. But when we have reached there, say some people, a group, then we have to verify ourselves that is it that all the people in the group have perfect trust in each other. This is more important. If we live together at a place without having trust in each other and without having concern about each other and without having a spirit of sacrifice and sharing with each other and without having a spirit of cooperation between each other, then we are not really protected from all the dangers. Some people think that suppose we build a big wall around us in a society, for example, you find even in the cities also a group of houses are made within a big wall, which is a society, like a society. But that doesn't mean that they are all secure. As long as there are walls built on the mental level between people in the form of mistrust and suspicion and all these things, we are not at all secure. This is what we have to remember. So, we must have trust in the basic goodness of all the beings around us. And also we have to overcome the differences in the name of religion or nation and all these things. That is most important. Each person in the group may have his own religious beliefs or something else. He can have that for himself, but that should not be brought into the relationship of each person with other in the group. So we have to remember the other person is also a human being, that's all. We should not always keep in our mind to which nation he belongs, to which religion he belongs, or like this. So we have to remember that all are human beings in the group. Basically, we are all human beings. So therefore, the requirements are the same. Then it is possible that the members of the group can work together working together also to work each one for others. Then that will be strongest society of group living. There is one wonderful parable from the Vedas. Once there are many beings, human beings, were created. So the Creator has created the food for sustenance, and then He has created the beings. This is the pattern, this is the order in the phenomenon of this creation. So God is not the Creator or the God, whatever you may call, is not unwise to create the beings first and then the food for sustenance. Then they cannot sustain. So, first of all, the food was created, and then the beings are created from the food. So already food is there by the time that we are created. So we can know this. So, like this, in this parable, God has created many people, and all of them are looking to God. We need food because we are hungry. They stretched their hands to God. Then God has filled their hands. When they stretched both the hands together to God, He has filled them, those hands, with grains of food. And He said, you be wise to use these grains to fulfill your needs, first of all, your hunger. Then what happened? 50% of these people, what they did is, they have taken a handful of grains and they have put them on the soil first. That means 50% of the grains are put into the soil, into the earth. And then they have the remaining 50% in their another hand. What they did? So these grains they have put into the mouth of other person who is before him. So each person did like this in these 50% of people. So what happened? God is very happy for this, and He blessed them that these grains will sprout, which they have put in the soil. So from this handful of grains which were sprouted, so again there are plenty of grains which they can share and survive. And what the other 50% of persons did is, each one, when God has filled their both hands with grains, each person has eaten away the grains directly without noticing the other person. Every person has eaten away for himself. So what happened? After a very short time, all the grains disappeared because they have eaten everything. And once again, when they are hungry, there is nothing for them. So they have to starve and die. You see, this parable, what we can have a message from this parable is that if we are concerned only with our rights and with our own needs, and if we are concerned only to fulfill our own needs and get our own rights, such persons are ultimately going to disappear because they have no concern about the fellow beings because of their possessive nature. They are concerned only with their own self. So if you have cultivated the spirit of sacrifice, spirit of sharing, and using your sense of responsibility for others, then you will become divine. From human nature, you will enter into divinity. Then you are very well protected from the forces of nature or from God. And you will be always, there will be plenty for you. The more you sacrifice, the more you distribute, the more you will get again reimbursed from the nature. That is according to the law of nature. That is why practically what I can tell you is that in the present crisis situation in our country, which is highly populated, most people, among the all common people, most of them voluntarily, every day you can see everywhere that they are preparing food, they are distributing this to the people who have no possibility to cook their food, who are on the streets. So see, this is not new to this land. This is from the very beginning. This is the very tendency which is continuing irrespective of any religion or irrespective of anything, because this is the real culture. So this is a very healthy thing with which you can overcome any sort of situation like this. So a group living. So in the group living, on the mental level, all the people in the group should get connected with each other above the emotional level. That is also important, because if it is only connection on the emotional level, that it will have always a turmoil. It will be always changing, because emotions are always changing like the waves in the ocean. You see, when you observe the waves in the ocean, there will be a big wave going up and again breaking itself and going down. So emotions are also like this. So you should not get influenced or entangled by the emotions. What is required is love and compassion. This is the divine quality which will protect us from all the dangers, external dangers and such situations anytime. So therefore, in group living, when you want to make a group living, each person should eliminate the fear in the mind about how he or she can sustain. So our work should be mainly, it should be a part of the group work than the individual. That doesn't mean that we have to fulfill the needs of our body, but when we are together in a group, all the needs are fulfilled for everybody when we work together. That you are already, because you are, most of you in Russia, you are in an eco-village like Grishno, which I have seen. So that is a good effort towards a group living. But wherever you are, most important is you should eliminate any sense of exploiting other person. That is most important. That means, for example, if I see somebody is very serviceful, so always I receive service from that person, and I will not offer any sort of service to that person or to any other person. So this is taking advantage of the other persons, the effort of the other persons. So if you cannot get out of this, that is why in the economy, in the real economics of the scriptures, as we have also studied earlier, the real economics, if you offer your efforts, your energy, your work for the other person, and when you come to the aspect of remuneration for your work, if you want to evaluate your work in terms of remuneration, for example, if you make a work which is worth of $100 or 100 rubles, whatever it may be, you receive only $70 or $75 or rubles. And when you have to pay other person, when other person has offered his service to you, and when you have to pay the other person, then if the other person has offered you, which is evaluated, its value is about $50 or 50 rubles. If you can pay at least $75 or rubles in return, this is for evaluation I am telling you, then that society will grow very stronger economically. This is the ultimate truth. This you can experience only by putting in practice. Theoretically, this appears something not practical, but when you put in practice, then you can observe the success of this procedure. So this is based on the divine logic. Then the relationship of each individual with the society, with all the individuals in the society, will be in a very constructive manner when you apply such principles. Because this is working for the common good. So always you should be concerned how you can work for the common good of other beings. When you are thinking about doing something good, when you are trying to do something good, it should be towards the common welfare, the welfare of all. That should be our direction. So that is what is required for building up a strong group life, group living. So as I told you in the beginning, all the members of the group should be united like how the bricks are united to form a wall or a structure. Not just like a heap of bricks, as I told you. So if we live at a place without having such connection, We are like heap of bricks. We are separated from each other. See how in the big cities, in a building, how many flats are there, how many families are living. But when any member, any family is having any problem, suffering, if the neighboring family closes the door with the fear of attending to that family, so like this, if you live, so then it is like living in wilderness. Another example is, if you are living in such a place with many houses, suppose if there is an accident, fire accident in the house, in one house, then if the inhabitants of each house are concerned or they want to protect their own house from catching fire, and in this they will ignore the house which caught fire and they don't make any effort to help, then all the houses will be burnt away from the fire. This is the law of nature. Suppose all the people of all the houses work together immediately to put off the fire for the first house which caught fire, then all the houses will be protected. This is the law of nature. This is an example. So from this, we have to know that what is required for group living is our sense of responsibility and ignore our rights and our sense of sacrifice and our sense of distribution, sharing and all this. And then only we can have a very healthy, successful group living, well protected from any sorts of danger from outside. So this is what is very much important. So our today's topic, it is just a beginning. So it is very good that our groups, our brothers in Russia and Ukraine, in Europe, that they made such a proposal, and we make all the technical things more better, and then we keep meeting together on better quality on every Saturday like this, and we will be, anyway we are always in touch with each other. So this is very good that we can see each other also by applying these better technical tools. So I wish all of you, wherever you are, we are always together, that I wish that all of us collectively keep making our effort to help our fellow beings, and then we will get the blessings from masters and higher beings to get out of any sort of danger like what we have now all over the world. Thank you all. Vasudeva.